Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, Mom is here. Spoiler season is here. March of the Machine, singular, not plural, is here. Yeah, lots of exciting spoilers today. If you haven't seen all the other episodes I've done today, my goodness, make sure you check them out at some point. Do not leave just yet, though, because on this episode, well, confirmation has finally... No, that's a weird way of saying it. The final sword has finally shown up. There we go. That's a better way of saying it. One of my guesses on the final sword is correct. One is not correct. I had a couple of guesses. Anyways, let's jump into the card. With all that said, here we go. Sword of Once and Future. The final sword out of the 10 cycle of swords that we thought originally was 5. And then they had another 5. And yeah, swords. Here we go. So, an artifact equipment that costs 3. It has equip 2, like every other sword of, you know what I mean. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has protection from blue, protection from black. Now, this was the part that I couldn't remember right there. For some reason, I couldn't remember that we were missing the Dimir sword. Thank you to everyone in the comments below who let me know in that episode that we are, in fact, missing the Dimir sword, and now it is here. This is the 10th and final sword. And what does it do? It says, whenever equipped creature deals common damage to a player, surveil 2. I got that right. We'll talk about the other sword here in a bit that I guesstimated, and yeah, surveil 2, nailed it. Next, then you may cast an instant sorcery spell mana value 2 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put in your graveyard, exile it instead. So again, the final sword is finally here. We finally have the complete cycle. Although actually, some people out there did mention that technically, there could be, you know, a protection from colorless sword and a multicolored sword, and you are 100% correct, and that definitely could be part of it. The 10 cycle is complete. There could technically be some other kind of additional ones afterwards, though technically, I mean, I guess if you're protection from monocolored and multicolored, yes, I would say. There could be another one. We shall see. Only time will tell. Regardless, the Dimir sword is here, and yeah, it is quite powerful. So, first up, surveilling 2. Again, not card advantage, but card selection, which is fantastic. Again, surveilling is basically scrying, but better in many circumstances. Look at the top card of your library. Decide if you want to put it in your graveyard or, or keep it on top, essentially. With this one, obviously, it's surveil 2, so the top 2 cards. So, again, great card selection. Also, you can fill your graveyard with, great things. Essentially, again, sometimes, if you're playing in a reanimator deck, great, full of creatures that you want to reanimate back out. If, you want to get more instant sorceries in your graveyard, to, add to, or maybe have like a flashback, essentially. Great. But with this, again, this one actually pairs with itself, obviously. That second part allows you to cast instant sorcery. It is a small one from your graveyard. Again, 2 or less. Now, is this for every deck? No, there are certain decks out there that don't run a lot of sorceries or instants that are, 2 or less. And if you don't do that, you still might be able to take advantage of the surveilling, obviously. And if your deck really works well with that surveilling, sure, this could be a consideration. Again, +2/+2, pro blue, pro black is great. Those are both good removal colors. So yeah, getting protection from those can be great. Yes, but again, if your deck doesn't have literally like any instant sorceries that cost 2 or less, there's definitely some consideration there. There's definitely some decks out there that have a ton of instant sorceries, that cost 2 or less. A lot of spell slinger decks out there that absolutely love casting, cantrip after cantrip after cantrip that cost basically nothing, 1 mana or 2 mana, essentially, and you just keep getting a lot of additional value from that. Keep in mind, obviously, if you are in green even, and you've got a bunch of, ramp spells, like, maybe a Rampant Growth, Edge of Autumn, Nature's Lore, yeah, etc., 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 there's plenty of, 2 mana ramp spells that you can, get back with this as well, so make sure you're keeping those in mind. Of course, there's also, just regular draw spells that you might be utilizing, like a Brainstorm or like a Faithless Looting. So yeah, make sure you're just counting up, the amount of, instant sorceries that cost 2 or less. If you're really kind of considering this one, it's kind of on the edge, that might be a way to actually be like, okay, do I have enough? Do I not have enough? Should I include it? Should I not include it? Overall, it seems like a pretty powerful sword. Keep in mind, I didn't put this in the slides, but yeah, you can cast those 0 mana instant sorceries that I love so much, like Hypergenesis, which is a gross card. You could also cast, oh my goodness, how am I forgetting my favorite one? Oh, the blue one that costs 0. Someone in the comments below yell at me right now. Yep, 0 mana. Go steal a creature. Yep, I built an entire deck around it. Oh my goodness, it's been a long day. I need more coffee. Regardless, there are some cool things that you can do with that. Obviously, kind of cheating out cards like that. More likely, you're just going to be throwing this in a deck that can utilize both sides. Again, a Spellslinger deck that likes to, get instant sorceries in your graveyard potentially, digging through the top of your library, and then be able to cast them with this. Now, how popular is this sword going to be, and what commanders might want to use it? Well, let's jump into one of those things first, after I bring up my version of the sword. If you saw my episode a couple of days ago when they actually announced that there would be a 10th sword, Morrow had, like, his teasers, like, hey, look, there's going to be, 10th sword is going to be coming out, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, 10th sword, finally, complete cycle. And this is what I came up with, Sword of Cunning and Deceit. The name was not correct. Not correct at all. Anyways, all of it was correct except for, I mean, not all of it was correct. The regular parts are correct, right? Equipment, 3, equip 2. That's kind of cheating. Plus 2/2, pro blue, pro black. Also cheating because, yeah, it all follows the exact same. Whoever creature deals counter to a player, Surveil 2. Look at that! See? Surveil 2. Okay, technically, I had another version of the card as well. We're just going to ignore that one and just focus on this, okay? This is the important one. I also up to one target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn, so those two obviously didn't play together, kind of like the brand new sword does, where it's like, hey, yeah, card selection plus, you can fill your graveyard and then utilize a card out of your graveyard potentially. This one I think is more generically good, technically, my version essentially, because it's more usable. In certain circumstances, obviously, you can, always get card selection and always take out a creature with that -3/-3, or, not always take one out, but, take out creatures that are smaller, or, shrink a creature, essentially, that might have been just dealt damage or set up to get taken out. Whereas, again, you might not always have access to instant sorcery in your graveyard that costs 2 or less. So, and there are certain decks, again, that really don't run small instant sorceries. So, again, I think Sword of Cunning Deceit, which is not an actual sword, again, the custom version that I made, I think that was kind of more generically better, but again, in certain, Spellslinger decks, the brand new sword is obviously better. So yeah, there you go. Or not obviously, I guess, but in my opinion, better. Regardless, I was close, kind of. Next up, though, let's talk about some commanders that might want to utilize this brand new sword, the actual one, again, Sword of Once in Future. Here we go, and first up, we've got Varen, Voice of Duality. Like I said, spell slinging, very important. Say 2/2, Efreet Wizard. Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy its sorcery spell, +1/+1 till end of turn. If you're casting or copying its sorcery spell, causes a triggered ability for it to trigger. It triggers ability time. Basically, Magecraft triggers happen twice. And yeah, you're going to have plenty of fantastic Magecraft triggers in a deck like this. And being able to cast a ton of instant sorceries is going to be very impactful for you. So being able to, maybe get some instant sorceries in your graveyard, maybe ones that have flashbacks, you can utilize them other ways. Or yeah, a bunch of tiny cantrips, just be able to cast them out of your graveyard with this brand new sword. That can be fantastic, not just to pump this commander, obviously, but also to get all of your other triggers. Yeah, a lot of great ones out there to get, like Archmage Emeritus, etc., etc. Moving on, Cast Dissonant Mage, another commander that absolutely loves cards in the graveyard and casting them out of the graveyard. 3/4 flyer. During each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your graveyard. If a spell casts away from your graveyard, exile it instead. Very simple, very effective. Hey, cast your spells twice. If you are using a cast deck that is a good amount of, again, low to the ground instant sorceries, you get a ton of value out of that. Yeah, basically just get spells in your graveyard. You're already benefiting from that Surveil. You're benefiting from other mill effects as well, filling your graveyard for cast and for your sword. And then you can cast those tiny ones just by getting cast through, which again, cast has flying. I guess I'm assuming you're equipping this to cast. Cast already has flying, +2/+2 would be nice. Pro blue, pro black can get through in a lot of circumstances. So yeah, definitely a good sword for cast. Next up, how about Niv Mizzet Baron? Yeah, a gross commander. 5/5. This spell can't be countered. Flying Dragon Wizard. That says, whenever you draw a card, deals 1 damage to any target. This can ping a lot of players very quickly, sometimes infinitely, kind of infinitely. Anyways, whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. Not just you, any player. So first up, this triggers off of everyone. You're going to be drawing a ton of cards, pinging a lot. And yeah, now with this new sword, you can obviously get through, again, for a lot of players. Again, flying, a 7/7 flying, pro blue, pro black, dragon, 3-shot KO on any player, essentially. And yeah, hey, let's Surveil. Let's get some instant sorcery in our graveyard. Let's cast, again, basically we have a ton of small cantrips with a commander like this. Let's cast one. Cool. All right, draw a card. Get that effect, whatever the card is. Ping something for 1. A ton of value out of something like this. Next up, Tolerant Sky Summoner. Again, a commander that loves low-to-the-ground instant sorcery. You're seeing a pattern here. Spellslinger commanders definitely should be on the lookout for this card. 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 Blue Drake creature token with flying. So yeah, first up, protecting your commander is very important. These swords do a great job at that for the most part. And also, hey, yeah, let's cast even more instant sorceries. Let's surveil. Let's get cards off the top of our library in our graveyard. Let's pick and choose what we need. Let's cast more of our cantrips again and again and again. And, okay, I guess I probably should stop with the Spellslinger Commanders because I think you get the point. But yeah, here we go. Kaikar wins Fury. One last one. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white spirit control with flying. Sacrifice a spirit, add red. This one can get out of control very quickly. You basically are making rituals essentially with your cards as well. Casting spell after spell, getting tiny instants in your graveyard, tiny sorceries in your graveyard as well, tiny cantrips in your graveyard, recast them. Yes, basically, hey, if you've got a Spellslinger Commander that's utilizing a lot of low to the ground spells, make sure you're considering this card. Also, if you have a self-mill commander like Sidisi Brood Tyrant, definitely a great consideration as well. Sidisi is a 3/3 enters battlefield or attacks mill 3. Whenever one or more creature cards put in your graveyard from the library, create 2/2 black zombie creature token. So, again, on that attack trigger from Sidisi, you have the potential to make a zombie token. Also, when you hit an opponent and you've got the sword attached, cool. You also get to surveil too. If you hit a creature off those, you put in the graveyard, get another zombie token. And of course, if you've got instant sorceries in the graveyard, yeah, you can have plenty of instant sorceries in the graveyard that can be very effective with a commander like this. Utilize them, cast them. Definitely can be a good card to consider again for self-mill commanders. And yeah, again, with commanders like Sidisi that actually have to swing to get that benefit. I mean, enters battlefield or text, but yeah, swing to get that benefit in that situation. Hey, +2/+2, pro blue, pro black can be very impactful, very effective in helping get it through as well. So make sure you're considering that protection angle too. But now, speaking of cards and speaking of angles and speaking of, well, circumstances, let's talk about the other swords really quick and talk about where this new sword of Once and Future might end up when it comes to popularity in Commander at the end of the day. Now, one of the cards from, I believe it's Modern Horizons 2. This one's already the most popular sword right now with Sword of Hearth and Home, according to EDHREX stats. +2/+2, white, green, pro. Quick creature is combination to a player, exile up to one target creature you own, then search your life for a basic land, put both cards on the battlefield in your control shuffle. Basically, blink one of your creatures, go get a land and ramp, essentially. So yeah, you can utilize, essentially ETBs from your creatures. So yeah, this works with blink decks, it works with ramp decks. There's a reason why it's one of the most popular swords. And actually, again, technically right now, it is the most popular one. Actually, I think I looked like a week or two ago and it was not. Now it is. So crazy days in swords indeed. Sword of Feast and Famine. This one probably would be the most popular one if it was more budget friendly. Hey, +2/+2, pro black, pro green. Deal damage to a player, discard a card, or that player does. That's not why this one's so impactful though. Untap all lands you control. Gross. Yeah, that was why this one is so impactful. Again, if it was more budget friendly, it'd probably be the most powerful sword. Not most powerful, sorry. Most popular sword. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, next up, Sword Truth and Justice. +2/+2, pro white, pro blue. Quick creature is counter to a player, put a counter on target creature you control, and then proliferate. This one, again, actually always has a benefit, essentially, as long as you've got a creature you can target with this, which, yeah, your commander, you'd be able to do that. So yeah, basically this one always has a benefit for you. There's never any time you're going to whiff, never any time you're going to miss, and this works with, well, counter decks and decks that want to proliferate, and there's a lot of decks out there that would like to do that. So yeah, this is definitely a card that can be applied in a lot of decks out there. Next up, Sword of Fire and Ice. Speaking of which, this one basically always has an application. +2/+2, pro red, pro blue. Deal damage to a player, 2 damage to any target, and draw a card. Being able to take out, tiny creatures again, or just ping someone in the face, that's always going to be nice. Drawing a card, also always nice, applicable in basically every single situation. There's a reason this one's popular. Now, after that, I think this is probably about where over time this brand new sword might show up. That being said, there is one other sword that I do want to bring up because this is the sword that is the most recent sword from our most recent set before this one, Phyrexia LB1 with Swords of Fortune Frontier. And this one, obviously, currently is the least popular sword. Not because it's going to be the least popular sword, but because it's been out for like 2 months or whatever it's been. +2/+2, pro red, pro green. Quick creature counter to player, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You might play them this turn, play additional land this turn. This one gives you potential, access to more cards. So yeah, like Impulse Draw, which is great. And also potential extra ramp, essentially getting a land out of your hand or, those exiled cards into play. So essentially, again, potential card advantage, potential or temporary card advantage, potential ramp as well. Definitely a card that I think is going to see a good amount of play as well. This one is definitely going to move up in the ranks too. So yeah, now at the end of the day, where is this sword going to end up? I mean, if I had to guess, I'd probably say like 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there. I would assume sort of Once and Future will end up at the end of the day. Like if you look like a year from now and you're like, okay, I mean, all factors kind of considered, price, all these other factors too, like what kinds of decks are going to want to utilize it. I would say 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there. Maybe I'm being too broad, but yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on that. Again, it does provide you some kind of card selection, essentially not card advantage technically, though if it does hit something that you can then cast, that is kind of card advantage as well. Yeah, basically, it is good for, you know, again, decks that want to fill their graveyard, decks that want to be able to look at the top of their library and potentially move things, decks that want to be able to cast tiny instant sorceries out of their graveyard, again, Spellslinger decks. There are a lot of applications for this. Again, just protecting your commander, again, is also just a good thing too. Yeah, there's a lot of applications for this. We shall see where it all ends up. Again, maybe in a year from now, we should like maybe see kind of like where all these swords kind of technically ended up. We'll see. So yeah, who knows? And maybe by the time we'll have an 11th sword. Who knows? So yeah, again, finally though, the technical cycle of 10 is complete. So yeah, it's a very exciting sword. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on it. If you haven't seen my most recent episode on, oh no, Atali. Infect Atali. I mean, not technically infect, but basically infect Atali. Yeah, Atali's a Phyrexian now. Oh no. And the front side is gross too. Regardless, make sure you check that episode out. All my other episodes during spoiler season out as well. Stay tuned for even more exciting quick takes and spoilers. And yeah, of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.